Discover the amazing transformation. 5 simple habits that changed 100 lives forever. Sarah sat at the rickety dining table, the remnants of breakfast scattered around her like fragments of her exhausted state. Her youngest, 5-year-old Ellie, needed help with a school project on butterflies. Normally, the demands of her day job at the diner and the night cleaning gigs ran her ragged, but something pushed her to stay present. As she flipped through the papers, she could feel the weight of a mountain of responsibilities pressing down on her. Bills, groceries, and the constant worry of simply making ends meet swirled in her mind, threatening to drown her. But this morning felt different. As Sarah helped her daughter glue down glittery wings, a flash of color caught her eye on the table, a dusty self-help book, hiding there, tangentially related to the library's summer reading program she had shoved there weeks ago. The dusty cover proclaimed, 5 Simple Habits for a New You. She hesitated, a part of her scoffing at the idea that a mere book could change anything. Still, she couldn't shake the gnawing curiosity. Could those habits genuinely foster some shift in her life? A flicker of hope ignited in her chest, accompanied by the nervous thought, would she finally be seen? Before she could dwell on it, the thoughts of her children flooded back. They looked up to her as a superhero, a role that was often suffocating, kept her from admitting her fears. What if these habits didn't work? What if she was just a failure masquerading as an optimistic mother? Would they resent her for aiming too high? Half of her yearned for something better, while another part felt like a fraud for even trying. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After that moment of potential solidarity with strangers, doubts flooded back in. What would happen if she failed them? If she embraced these habits and everything fell apart? As she sifted through the book's pages with shaky fingers, the ideas of mindfulness and gratitude seemed like shining beacons against her thick fog of uncertainty. It felt daunting to imagine any change amidst her draining routine. Ellie tugged at Sarah's sleeve, snapping her back to reality. "Mom, are you okay?" Her innocent query cut Sarah deeply. Was she truly okay? The line between ambition and obligation blurred. She couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that chasing a new purpose might come at the expense of her family's stability. The thought tightened her chest. Every time she contemplated moving forward with this newfound adventure, the ghost of past criticisms from old friends, particularly Diane, lurked in the corner of her mind. The voice dripped with condescension. "You? Transform? Really, Sarah?" Would that voice drown her? Could any progress be genuine if doubt lingered? She stared at the book, the promise of something better breathing life into her at that moment. Just as she started to gather fragments of courage, the phone buzzed on the table. News of layoffs at the local factory. She felt the ground beneath her tremble as the reality of a community in crisis hit hard. It didn't just threaten her aspirations. It threatened the fabric of her home. Sarah's heart raced. She was now trapped between the burden of a future that felt heavier than ever and the urgency of uniting her family amidst loss. She was forced to confront the pivotal crossroads that lay ahead. Would she allow fear to dictate her actions, or could she find the strength to lead despite her insecurities? The tension coiled tightly around her as she prepared for what was to come. Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of impending decisions crashing down around her like waves at a rocky shore. The factory layoffs resonated within her, echoing her own fears about instability, not just in her job, but in her family's life. Memories of restless nights spent worrying about next month's rent surfaced, reminding her that even a hint of hope was often built on shaky ground. She glanced at Ellie, who was now engrossed in her project, blissfully unaware of the chaos swirling just outside their small kitchen. The self-help book lay open, its pages inviting yet daunting. Could a set of 5 habits really change her life? The thought seemed absurd at first. Yet, as Sarah observed her daughter, she felt an undeniable shift within herself. For the first time in a long while, she considered the possibility that the upcoming changes in her family's dynamics could mirror her own potential for growth. She reached out and turned to the first chapter. The first habit was simple yet profound: practice gratitude daily. As Sarah read through the words, she felt a flicker of connection. Perhaps, amidst the turmoil, she could find small things to be grateful for: Ellie's laughter, the warmth of the morning sun streaming through the window, and even her job, which, though exhausting, provided for her family. Each thought was a small stone to brace against the storm surging inside her. After reading the first exercise, she decided to test it right there, right now. She picked up a pen and a scrap of paper lying beside her. 3 things I'm grateful for, she wrote at the top. Ellie looked up, curious. Mom, what are you doing? I'm writing some things I'm thankful for. Sweet pea. Care to join me? The unrepentant spark in her daughter's eyes ignited something in Sarah as they sat side by side, sharing light-hearted ideas about their day and small occurrences that made them smile. It was incredible, an ordinary moment transforming into something special, a new willingness to embrace joy right in the thick of her responsibilities. But beneath this glimmer, Sarah felt the familiar tendrils of doubt creeping in again. Was gratitude enough to shield her from the darker realities that threatened her family's future? As they finished writing, her mind drifted. The insecurities fed by Diane's voice resurfaced. Yes, Sarah felt a small change, a slight shift in her perspective. Yet one workout wouldn't build a champion. Was this really a meaningful step, or just a temporary distraction from daunting truths? Ellie thrust her colorful work into Sarah's hands, snapping her back. Look, Mom, they're gonna look beautiful once they're done. Absolutely fantastic, honey. Sarah smiled, buoyed by her daughter's affection, but the victory was muted by the knowledge that this happiness couldn't last. She could see the reluctance brewing within her. A tension gripped her, a nagging voice warning her to temper those moments of hope against the harsh realities looming ahead. Just as she contemplated these thoughts, her phone buzzed again, a notification about an opportunity to participate in a local skills development workshop. Absorbing the details sparked her curiosity, igniting impulses she hadn't felt in years. This wasn't merely a retreat from responsibility. This could be an opportunity for growth and empowerment. The prospect of embracing a new direction drew her in like a moth to a flame. But was she ready to strip the layers of self-doubt? Just as she was about to impulsively sign up, the nagging voice from the past seeped in again, urging her to remain cautious. Could she navigate this new path without compromising her duties as a mother? As the day turned into night, Sarah felt the weight of her choices heavy on her shoulders. It was evident that she stood at the doorway of transformation, but the other side, shrouded in uncertainty, beckoned. Would she take the leap into the murky waters of change or retreat back to the safety of her old, predictable routines? In the flickering light of the kitchen, Sarah found herself staring at the looming question: was she ready to commit to this journey of self-discovery, or would the fear of failure keep her confined? With a deep inhale, everything felt suspended in time as she reached for her phone again, fingers hovering over the screen. The moment felt electric, filled with possibilities and threats. Would she step forward or let fear dictate her future? The decision loomed, unsettled, as she steadied her breath and prepared to press send. Her finger trembled slightly above the screen, caught in a web of conflicting emotions. Each press of the button felt monumental, as if it would echo through every part of her life, shaking the very foundations she thought she'd secured. Sarah closed her eyes momentarily, gathering her thoughts. But then the tiny voice of hesitation that had followed her like a shadow insisted she reconsider. Would signing up for the workshop really be the right choice? Would plunging headfirst into something unknown spiral her life further into chaos? With a deep inhale, she opened her eyes. Each moment of stillness was a reminder that she had long since accepted her circumstances with too much resignation. As if proof of her own stagnation, her apartment walls echoed with memories of the countless hours spent worrying instead of doing. Now, standing on the precipice of change, she questioned the value of looking backward solely for solace. She finally pressed send, her heart racing with a mix of relief and trepidation. As the notification confirmed her registration, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. It wasn't just signing up for a workshop. It was her choice to prioritize her personal growth over the familiar comfort of routine. That night, as Sarah tucked Ellie into bed, she threaded the day's events into their nightly routine filled with stories and hot cocoa. "Let us talk about what you're excited for tomorrow," she prompted. Watching the way her daughter's face lit up, the innocent joy reflected back at her, sparking a realization. This was the type of transformation she yearned to embody not just for herself, but for Ellie as well. She wanted to show her daughter that embracing change could yield joy. The next morning, an unusual sense of determination enveloped her as she prepared for the workshop. She dressed carefully, opting for a blouse that felt just a bit more ambitious than her everyday wear. Each article she donned felt symbolic like armor against her self-doubt. The mirror reflected not just a woman nervous about a workshop, but someone stepping bravely into the arena of self-improvement. As she entered the community center, the cacophony of voices and laughter swept over her like a tidal wave. The space was alive, each individual a testament to their own transformative journeys. Yet, she felt like an outsider, the edges of her confidence fraying. Would she truly fit in? The sweat forming on her palms spun her thoughts into a storm of reluctance again. But she steadied her breathing and gripped the strap of her bag tightly. Overcoming the initial discomfort was precisely what she needed to do. Sarah pushed forward, absorbing the determination radiating from her surroundings. Each smiling face turned toward her became a reminder of why she had come. To reclaim the spark inside that had flickered for far too long. As the session began, the facilitator, a dynamic woman with an infectious passion for personal development, initiated discussions about embracing failure as a stepping stone toward success. Sarah found herself listening intently, her mind whirring with implications. Failure felt foreign yet familiar. For so long, she had equated failure with risk and fear, but what if it was simply the threshold to actual growth? Engaging with the group as they shared their stories, Sarah felt her own narrative unfolding. With each anecdote exchanged, the layers of her doubt began to peel away. The community felt real, supportive. When it was her turn to speak, the words felt heavy in her throat, yet the chance to share her struggles stood before her, undeniably inviting. In a bold move, she poured out her fears and aspirations, the murmur of vulnerability sending a ripple of connection through the room. Sarah sensed the gasps of understanding from those present, fueling a flicker of newfound confidence. She had spoken her truth, but in that moment, she wasn't just revealing her flaws. She was flying the flag of hope. Yet, just as she began to relish this newfound connection, a nagging doubt crawled back into her mind. Would they remain supportive in the moment of her genuine failures? What if she stumbled on her path again? With a hesitant flutter deep down, the external confrontation with herself forced an inevitable reckoning. Before she could spiral, another workshop participant leaned in and shared her own tale of struggle, echoing every sentiment Sarah had expressed, a tangible reminder that everyone danced around their challenges. In that curious blend of anticipation and resolve, Sarah encountered a pivotal moment in her identity, her fingers trembling again, this time not with fear but with the promise of what was to come. Could she navigate through this transformative experience without running back to her old self? Just as the session progressed into a lively brainstorming exercise, Sarah faced the challenge head-on: how to harness this momentum as a catalyst for genuine change. The clock ticked on, and as ideas began to flow freely among the participants, the possibilities felt endless. But a creeping recognition settled over her. The true test lay ahead. As she absorbed each word and concept discussed, she embraced the fact that every lesson learned must be fiercely carried into her looming reality back home. The stakes were rising, and the path to change was steep. With the afternoon sunlight dancing through the center's windows, she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection, a woman teetering on the edge of rediscovery and uncertainty. But somewhere in that reflection, she felt fierce determination swelling. What awaited her when she returned home? Would the glow of her newfound identity withstand the shadows lurking in her daily life? As the workshop concluded, the energy in the room buzzed with an electric charge. Sarah was riding a wave of conversation that felt unreal, brimming with the kind of camaraderie she had missed for so long. Each exchanged idea served as both an anchor and a lifeline, reminding her of the possibility of her own return to a life of passion and enthusiasm. On the ride home, however, that buoyant energy began to wane. Traffic crawled, and with each passing vehicle, doubt nipped at her heels again. What would her life look like tomorrow, next week, or even months from now? The weight of her newly introduced potential felt like both a daring adventure and an oppressive burden. Alighting from the car, the familiar sights of her apartment loomed ahead, and the warm buzz of connection began to dissipate into the cold reality of her surroundings. She shifted her focus onto Ellie as she raced from the living room to greet her mother, her voice a myriad of laughter and questions. "Did you have fun, Mommy? What did you learn?" Ellie's wide-eyed enthusiasm pulled Sarah back momentarily from her tumult of thoughts. "I did. We talked about dreams and how we can make them real," she replied, kneeling to meet her daughter's gaze, feeling the innocence of the moment wash over her like a soothing balm. "Can you dream big?" Ellie asked, her curiosity untainted by skepticism, already holding her mother's words with pure faith. Sarah hesitated, her mind flooding with fragmented memories of dreams, once held fervently visions of aspirations layered over the years with fears of inadequacy. "Yes, I can," she finally said, infusing her response with conviction in hopes of capturing that sparkle she could see igniting in Ellie's eyes. But upon saying it, a sharp awareness pricked her heart, a fierce urgency not to let hesitation consolidate back into her life. The workshop had opened a door, yet here she was, confronted by four walls of habitual doubt. That night, restlessness followed her into bed. The workshop's ideas swirled in her mind while awareness of her stagnant routines pressed down heavily. Voices of encouragement underscored by the facilitator echoed. "The first step is to act on your dreams, however small." Why did it feel like a mini-revolution to change her habits? Could she even commit to that? With her phone lit up on the nightstand, Sarah jotted down key takeaways while speaking aloud the principles she had learned. A simple shift of mindset, a morning ritual, a fundamental prioritization of her aspirations. These were the blueprints of transformation shared by others, and yet they felt distant, abstract. As sleep eluded her, a wild idea ignited a personal challenge for the week. What if she set 5 specific intentions and tracked her progress? Each day would demand focus, conviction, and resolute action. The mere thought sprouted an undercurrent of exhilaration, however fleeting. The idea of habit building truly compelled her. The first intention, she decided, should be simple but significant daily gratitude. If she could find joy in the mundane, perhaps it would shift how she viewed her daily life. As the days unfurled, Sarah threw herself into the challenge, facing each morning with a fierce determination to embody the aspirational woman she was beginning to envision. She harnessed moments of stillness to meditate and list her gratitudes. The soft hum of her coffee maker, the morning sun filtering into her kitchen, Ellie's laughter rippling through their home. Each list acted as a precarious bridge, leading her further away from complacency. But it wasn't tea without strain. Stumbling through moments of doubt or failure punctuated her resolve, the feeling of guilt creeping in on days marked by frustration. Could one week of small habits yield to significant change? The implications of such commitment felt weighty. Yet amidst the struggle, an unexpected camaraderie blossomed in the form of another mother from the workshop who reached out to check on Sarah's progress. It was grounding, hearing another voice echo her same challenges, making the process feel less solitary. Setting time to connect over coffee became an essential lifeline. In those conversations, they revealed their fears, shared their victories, and navigated the landscape of their personal development together. But as each emerging trend beckoned her to explore her potential, shadows loomed, larger fears from the past, and unresolved conflicts with how she previously balanced motherhood and her aspirations. A gnawing realization sank in. The doubts threatening to engulf her were intertwined with deeper revelations about herself, a complex knot of guilt, ambition, and love that couldn't simply be unpicked. Could she fully embrace her evolving identity without sacrificing the foundational elements of her life? As these questions haunted her, Sarah realized she was on the cusp of a profound choice that could alter the course of her growth. Just when she thought she'd started to grasp a sense of direction, the question loomed larger. What kind of mother did she want to be, and at what cost to her own ambitions? These thoughts weighed heavily as she climbed into bed that night, feeling the quiet resilience of her spirit battling against the impending tides of doubt. And just as she settled into sleep, a piercing notification from her phone caught her attention, revealing a message from the workshop group, a collaborative project proposal that stirred the alacrity she thought would simmer indefinitely. With renewed urgency, a thought sparked. The moment had come to face not just her own fears, but also the collective challenges she and the others had shared. If she dared to expand the parameters of her growth, could she push through to a profound shift, or would this also reveal the fragile underbelly of her aspirations? And so, Sarah lay there, heart racing, excitement swelling in her chest, a pivotal moment suspended in time when everything felt possible and yet precariously uncertain. What awaited her as she stepped deeper into this transformative journey, brimming with potential yet shadowed by hesitation? In the quiet of the morning, sunlight pooled into Sarah's kitchen, bridging the gap between night and day, possibility and fear. With the collaborative project proposal from the workshop lingering in her thoughts, she faced the morning routine with both trepidation and determination. The decision to engage felt monumental. It was a chance not just to reclaim her ambitions, but to intertwine them with the support she gained from fellow mothers like her. After brewing her coffee, Sarah positioned herself by the window, the warmth of the cup enveloping her hands. This ritual had become a cornerstone of her daily gratitude practice, yet today overshadowed her typical reflection. How could she present ideas to a group? Would they respect her contributions? The echoes of doubt began to creep back in, teasing her self-worth. She grabbed her notebook, scribbling the notes she had taken from the workshop, her fingers trembling. What if she proposed a project focusing on mindfulness and emotional balance for busy mothers? The idea, as it blossomed, felt like a beacon calling her to step out of the shadows. But what if they rejected it? A wave of anxiety washed over her, swiftly followed by the affirmation of her promise to herself. She had vowed to act regardless of doubt. Fueled by a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah reached out to Clara, the mother she had shared coffee with. Their exchanges had bred comfort, filling spaces of insecurity with camaraderie. When Clara responded eagerly to Sarah's idea, it startled her. "I genuinely think it could resonate with many of us," she texted back. That was all the encouragement Sarah needed to formulate a plan. She structured a time for a virtual meeting, envisioning the gathering as both an anchor for her aspirations and a platform for others to voice their dreams. No more solitary battles, this was about collective empowerment. The hours leading to the meeting felt like an eternity. Self-doubt surfaced with relentless insistence, questioning her credentials, her readiness, and the value of her ideas. Would she assert herself with confidence when the moment arrived? To counter those thoughts, she turned to her gratitude practice, listing every reason why she deserved this opportunity. Every small triumph leading to this moment, seeing her daughter thrive, discovering her ability to dream, and the resilience she had fought to embody. As the clock ticked closer, an unexpected surge of excitement swept over her. She would not just share her proposal, she would also open the floor for others. This dual responsibility, passive and active, invigorated her spirit. They could co-create a framework together, making strides beyond what they could accomplish alone. When the time arrived, she logged onto the call, breath exiting her lungs as she absorbed the familiar faces flickering across the screen. The initial chatter felt comforting, dissipating most of her anxiety, yet an underlying tension pulsed, drawing attention to the stakes. After the group settled, Sarah took a deep breath and introduced her idea, infusing her voice with resolve. Observing her peers' reactions, she noted nods of understanding, the flickers of interest painted across their expressions. But then something unexpected happened. Linda, an older member of the group, raised her hand as Sarah finished. "That sounds brilliant," she began. "But have you considered some caveats? Balancing our responsibilities isn't just about mindfulness. It's about actual time allocation. Let's talk numbers." The question hung heavily in the air, turning her thrill into a jolt of apprehension. Was it possible to negotiate her ambitions against the reality of parenting? Linda's challenge was a stark reminder that her aspirations crossed paths with many responsibilities which could either integrate seamlessly or clash violently depending on how they were approached. Could she face these dichotomies, balancing the opposing forces of motherhood and her burgeoning professional identity without losing sight of who she was becoming? As the discussion progressed, Sarah felt it churn within her. While she wrestled with the implications of Linda's concerns, a voice within reminded her that rising to challenge could also lead to growth. The call ended, leaving her awash with a sense of obligation not just to her vision, but to navigate the complexities that surfaced in the discussion. Sarah felt a surge of determination. To thrive, she would need to address these conflicting demands head-on. As she slipped into bed, a wave of excitement overtook the fatigue. Her mind buzzed with ideas, possibilities, and an underlying humility toward the work ahead. How could she systematically integrate time management with emotional vitality within the project? What strategic approach would she need to navigate these discussions moving forward? Tomorrow, she resolved to research and craft strategies for her next meeting, merging concepts of emotional balance with structured planning, embracing the intricate tapestry that motherhood and ambition wove together. And with that awareness that the road ahead would be shaped not just by her aspirations, but also by the intricacies of life, Sarah drifted into sleep, both eager and apprehensive about the formidable day waiting in the dawn light. What new challenges lay ahead, and could she craft a life that honored both the mother and the professional she aspired to be? The early morning sun crept across Sarah's bedroom, casting warm rays against the walls, urging her to rise. Today's agenda was clear. Armed with notes and concepts, she would tackle the concerns raised by Linda and create a more comprehensive framework for her project. She could not let doubt distort her vision, nor allow the complexities of life to extinguish her ambitions. This was her moment to build upon the conversations they had shared, to merge philosophy with practicality. She busied herself with breakfast, yet her mind raced. How could she articulate her plan while addressing Linda's valid point about time allocation? These thoughts spiraled in her head as she hummed a gentle tune, a ritual she adopted to promote calm amidst chaos. Each note felt like a mantra, grounding her in the present and reminding her of the partnership she aimed to build with her peers. Once the breakfast dishes were cleared, Sarah opened her notebook to a fresh page, jotting down ideas. Her handwriting flowed steadily, reflecting an emerging clarity in her thoughts. She envisioned a project that incorporated structured workshops focused not only on mindfulness but also on practical strategies to balance home and personal development. Could they create a toolkit? Perhaps something the mothers could reference, filled with scheduling templates and affirmational exercises tailored for busy lives? Her enthusiasm bubbled, yet she paused, reflecting on the gravity of what she was proposing. She wanted more than just a curated list of tips. The project had to resonate on a deeper emotional level, helping each participant carve out time for themselves, a radical act of self-care amidst their roles as caregivers. Would they appreciate this ethos, or would they drown it in the logistics of their realities? As the clock neared the meeting time, Sarah felt the familiar jitters of pre-presentation anxiety. She prepared a slide deck, not just to present her ideas but to facilitate discussion. Every slide was a cue for engagement, urging her fellow mothers to share their experiences and solutions to these common dilemmas. This environment, a safe space for shared wisdom, was what she longed for. Logging into the virtual meeting, she was greeted by the reassuring faces of her peers. Their friendly smiles felt polarizing. Did they really understand the weight of the conversation to come? Sarah took a deep breath, focusing on the women who shared her journey and the shared struggles, and found a sense of collective strength. As she began sharing her proposal, responding with enthusiasm to eager nods and encouraging expressions, she quickly pivoted to Linda's concerns. I believe that integrating our emotional wellness with structured planning can transform the way we allocate our time. Together, let us redefine what balance can mean. I welcome your thoughts on how we might ensure our tools are practical. As discussions flourished, she felt moments of anxiety fought valiantly by spurts of creativity, a back-and-forth dynamic that resonated deeply. Each response felt like a dance. The exchange of ideas invigorated her. Yet, there remained a flicker of fear. What if they still didn't see her vision? The session began to unveil a clearer outline. Feedback came in waves, particularly from Clara, who opened up about her own struggle with time management. It's hard to prioritize ourselves without feeling guilty. Isn't it? She admitted. That simple question echoed in Sarah's mind. What deeper layers of shame and expectation resided in them all? A realization washed over her. This project wasn't entirely about teaching mindfulness techniques or creating strict schedules. It was about cultivating a deeper understanding of self-worth above the demands placed upon them. As they animatedly charted ideas together, embracing the spirit of collaboration, a sense of urgency enveloped Sarah. She had unearthed something profound in this shared space, an awareness that the conversation reached beyond practical solutions, nudging the edges of self-acceptance and communal support. The meeting ended with a commitment to reconvene, promising to delve into more specific strategies and refine a structure that could work in practice. Sarah logged off with renewed purpose, but confusion tangled within her. Could she uphold this newfound vision while honoring her own evolving identity? On her way to the bedroom, she paused to face her reflection in the hallway mirror, the interplay of light and shadow mimicking the duality she felt. Behind her smile, uncertainty threatened to creep back in. Would she be able to balance her roles effectively? Each day was a new test, a new reflection of who she was becoming. As she lay in bed, ready to surrender to sleep, one thought festered in her mind. Although the meeting had sparked inspiration, the real journey lay in convincing her own heart that she was worthy of this evolution. The next day would come with further challenges, ones that would confront her deepest fears of inadequacy. Could she stand firm against the waves of self-doubt threatening her progress? The following morning, Sarah awoke to the crisp sounds of her alarm, the digital numbers blinking at her like a reminder of the commitments awaiting her. A flicker of idealism sparked within her. Today was about execution, about bridging the gap between vision and reality. After a brief breakfast, she turned her attention to the notes from last night's meeting. She carefully dissected the feedback, piecing together the insights shared by Clara and others. Sarah recognized a crucial element in their discussions. The emotional barriers they faced were real and pervasive, and she needed to address them head-on in her planning. She felt a resolve forming, an internal commitment not just to present a toolkit but to offer something more: liberation from guilt and a path toward self-compassion. Opening her notebook, she started drafting the first workshop outline, focusing on redefining self-worth. The air felt charged as her pen glided across the page. Would they respond to exercises confronting their insecurities or sharing personal reflections? Each word was imbued with the vigor of possibility, each page a step toward nurturing the women who might feel lost in the demands of their daily lives. An idea struck her. Why not incorporate rhythm into the sessions? A blend of mindfulness and movement could free their minds and ease their worries. She envisioned a section dedicated to guided meditation paired with gentle movement, a way of channeling their feelings into physical expressions. It ignited a flame of excitement within her. Feeling invigorated, Sarah decided to seek out feedback before their next meeting. She reached out to Clara, a proactive partner in their collaboration. What if we share a preliminary plan and gather thoughts? Sarah proposed over the phone, her voice steady and bright with enthusiasm. Clara's response was immediate. She appreciated the initiative. I think it's brilliant. We can even create a shared space for all our ideas. Let us make it an evolving document we can refine together. It became clear to Sarah that seeking collaboration was not only helpful but essential. The idea of bouncing thoughts off each other filled her with confidence. As she worked throughout the day, it no longer felt like a solo endeavor. The project had become a vibrant tapestry of shared identities. When her attention turned to Clara's struggles with time management, Something clicked in Sarah's mind. She decided to add a personal assessment tool to the workshops. It would be a simple, effective method for participants to gauge their time investment against personal needs. She typed rapidly, buoyed by a feeling of empowerment as she planned resources they could both utilize. As the sun dipped low, Sarah pulled herself away. She needed to step back and absorb what she had achieved. The remnants of self-doubt lingered, yet they began to lose their grasp. She thought about how each challenge she faced, whether from others or herself, seemed to mold her progress. Perhaps she was more capable than she had dared to believe. However, the reflections in the mirror still bore witness to her uncertainties. Was she neglecting her own needs in pursuit of advocating for others? A shadow of doubt crept back. Yet, just as she wrestled with the question, there was another part of her acknowledging that this journey was about discovery, not perfection. The habitual battle with self-judgment was not just hers. It thrived in the hearts of those she aimed to uplift. Sarah penned a simple note to herself on her whiteboard. Your journey matters. Own it, flaws and all. With her energy recentered, she felt the familiar pull to keep moving forward. But as she prepared for bed, a new thought occurred to her. In teaching others to break through their barriers, could she inadvertently unearth her own deeper issues about worthiness? The thought simmered, leaving a question in the air. What could emerge from the darkest recesses of her own hesitation as she strived to help others shed theirs? The dawn of the next day brought a sense of urgency. Sarah felt a simmering anticipation as she woke up, reminding herself of the profound responsibility she now carried. In the quiet moments of the early morning, she crafted a mental checklist of priorities. She needed to finalize the workshop framework, yet a part of her craved feedback from Clara, her creative counterpart. Their collaboration had borne fruit, and their synergy reflected a new kind of empowerment she sought to foster among the participants. After a quick shower, Sarah stood before the mirror, the note she had penned from last night looming in her mind. Your journey matters. She inhaled deeply, feeling both validated and fraudulent, as if the enormity of her mission could peel away at her self-esteem with the next wave of doubt. Would her journey truly resonate? Was she trying to guide others from an incomplete foundation of her own feelings? The internal dialogue directed her focus back to her achievements. The outline of the workshops sprawled across her coffee table, and she revisited each element meticulously. The idea of rhythm blended with mindfulness had taken root, and it excited her. She envisioned participants actively engaging in exercises to the sound of soothing beats, allowing music to transcend barriers. Each workshop could become a cathartic release, a space where women reclaim fragments of themselves often lost in the chaos of obligation. As she sipped her coffee, determination swelled. She grabbed her laptop and began drafting emails. It was time to set boundaries too. A week had melted away into a haze of continuous work with Clara, and she realized she'd sidelined her own needs. Daily rituals, she noted. Perhaps her participants could bond over collective experiences as they created their own self-care practices. Once again, doubt tiptoed in. Could she continue to carve out air for herself in this whirlwind of initiatives? The realization hit. She must not become just a facilitator of growth, but also a beacon demonstrating the importance of personal well-being. With renewed focus, Sarah opened Clara's shared document link, ready to implement her thoughts. Yet, precisely as she began typing, her phone buzzed an incoming message from Clara. Can we chat? I'm feeling overwhelmed. The words silhouetted her own inner dissonance. Clara's vulnerability ignited an uncomfortable truth in Sarah. Her partner might struggle with similar feelings, masking insecurity behind shared enthusiasm. Absolutely, she replied quickly, an impulse to reassure fueling her words. Let us discuss your concerns. As they spoke, Sarah actively listened while Clara laid bare her own pressures of perfectionism and her secret struggles with productivity. Feeling a shared burden, Sarah found herself strategizing how both could weave their individual journeys into the workshops. Each reveal became an opportunity for honesty, but it also prompted a lingering question. Am I setting an example or a facade? The moment gave her pause. After the call ended, Sarah sat in contemplative silence. The revelations unveiled in their conversation not only affirmed her own feelings of inadequacy but highlighted the very issues they intended to tackle in the workshops. If they were to teach self-compassion, could they not first explore it within themselves? The idea of integrating shared experiences into the curriculum solidified. A workshop module on vulnerability emerged in her mind, where participants could share personal narratives in secure circles, a way to deconstruct the walls of isolation. Just as excitement flared once more, doubts crept back in. Could Sarah truly lead a discussion on vulnerability while wrestling with her uncertainties? The mirror of her own struggles reflected back, questioning her authority to guide others through their hardest moments. Taking a deep breath, she scribbled on her whiteboard again. Remember, authenticity fosters connection. With each word, she committed to embracing her imperfection as an essential part of the journey. Yet, as she immersed herself in preparation, a nagging suspicion remained: if the workshops exposed her own shortcomings, how would she navigate them while empowering others? Determined to uncover these complexities, Sarah marked a new inquiry in her notebook. How can vulnerability be a source of strength? The silence in the room echoed the unspoken potential of this exploration, creating a brewing storm in her mind. As the day unfolded, she felt an insatiable desire to delve deeper, guided by the critical questions shaping her path. Would she emerge stronger or more fragmented? The stakes climbed higher as she prepared herself to facilitate a conversation that could change everything for herself and for those who looked to her for insights and renewal. As the sunlight filtered through her living room window, casting soft shadows on the walls, Sarah felt a sense of unease that had not left her since the previous day's revelations. The implications of vulnerability in her life and the upcoming workshops loomed large, like a thundercloud ready to burst. She wondered how to translate that complex emotional landscape into a framework others could navigate, while also unsure of her own footing. The clutter of her workspace mirrored her mental state, papers scattered everywhere, each one a reminder of half-formed thoughts and plans. Breathing in deeply, she resolved to establish some clarity, both in her environment and her mind. Sorting through the chaos, she sorted the workshop materials into distinct piles: ideas, feedback from Clara, and personal reflections. As she combined the fragments, she started to taste the flavor of her newfound purpose. She focused on the feedback from Clara, the words she had spoken echoing in her head. Together, they had identified the need to be authentic, yet now Sarah found herself questioning just how to include her own emerging truths, while still crafting a valuable experience for others. Could her insecurities paralyze her ability to empower those she sought to uplift? The thought clung to her mind, hefty like an anchor. Setting aside her insecurities, Sarah shifted her focus to her original goal: creating a supportive community for women. As she began to draft out the details of the vulnerability module, something substantial happened. She closed her eyes and imagined the women seated in a circle, sharing their stories. The images flared in her mind, a tapestry of experiences woven together through shared struggles and triumphs. For the first time, she could envision how bringing personal stories into these discussions could not only uplift her participants, but allow them a glimpse into her own darkness. "What am I afraid of?" she whispered to herself as she rhythmically tapped her pen on the table. The answer came swiftly: fear of judgment. Fear of her own unraveling and being seen as lacking. But what if this vulnerability was not a flaw but a bridge? Maybe confronting these shadows together with her participants would create solidarity and strength within the circle. The doorbell rang, pulling her from her thoughts. It was Clara, her face a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. Without exchanging pleasantries, they both plopped onto the couch, a space for raw honesty. "I'm nervous about our workshops," Clara confessed, her voice trembling as it had during their phone call. "What if we get out there and I crumble? What if they see our flaws instead of our strengths?" Sarah's palms tingled, the sensation mingling with a nascent realization. What if our flaws are our strengths? She shot back. It was an impulsive assertion, but it resonated. Maybe we should share our missteps as a part of the experience, showing that authenticity isn't polished perfection. Clara's eyes widened, an acknowledgement dawning as her shoulders relaxed slightly. A vulnerability module could serve as our first step, Sarah continued. Instead of pretending to have it all together, maybe we create a safe space for honesty. Clara leaned in, intrigue sparking in her expression. This could be our strength, Sarah breathed, heart racing. We could guide them through acknowledging their own vulnerabilities, leading by example. With those words, the gravity of their shared initiative began to shift. The conversation transitioned from fear to possibility, illuminating their path. The integration of their personal journeys into the workshops suddenly appeared like a sun rising over a horizon previously obscured by doubt. As they brainstormed, Sarah's mind gravitated toward her previous inquiry. How can vulnerability be a source of strength? The answer crystallized: it wasn't merely a question for herself, but a profound exploration they could navigate together. Yet, just as she began to feel a swell of hope, something nagged at her again. Would the world be as welcoming of vulnerability as they sought to teach? The thought sent a tremor through her confidence. The stakes had risen significantly, yet, this uncertainty ignited a fierce resolve. She could confront the fear of inadequacy head-on, standing alongside Clara, forging a path not just for themselves, but for all those who floundered under similar shadows. As she faced this internal battle, the distant chime of the clock reminded her time was limited, and their workshops were still at the mercy of the unknown. How, then, would they navigate this risk, and what might be at stake if they opened themselves to vulnerability on a public platform? Among the swirling thoughts, one thing crystallized. The time had come for them to carve out their authenticity in a way that could resonate deeply, but first, they had to confront the ultimate test of their resolve. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Clara dove headfirst into the workshops, transforming their fears and uncertainties into powerful lessons about vulnerability. The first workshop, held on a cloudy Saturday morning, attracted a diverse group of mothers, each weary yet hopeful. As Sarah stood at the front of the room, her heart raced, but a sense of purpose anchored her. They began with a shared story of their own struggles and the challenges of balancing responsibility with self-care. Sarah spoke openly about her doubts and her past fears of inadequacy, the same fears that had once threatened to hold her captive in the shadows. Clara's stories woven alongside hers resonated with the participants, who nodded and gasped, captivated by the authenticity displayed before them. As they led the group through the first session on vulnerability, Sarah noticed a profound shift within herself. Each word she spoke carried the weight of her experiences while simultaneously lifting it, creating space for her audience to invest in their own narratives. Together, they shared moments of laughter and tears, creating bonds that went beyond mere facilitation. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's our superpower, Sarah affirmed, her voice steady. The room erupted in murmurs as attendees began to reflect on their own experiences. An atmosphere of empathy enveloped them, each woman contributing threads that connected their stories, revealing the shared tapestry of motherhood. Sarah felt a surge of accomplishment, each heartfelt confession only deepening their collective understanding. This workshop marked a turning point, not just for the participants, but for Sarah herself. She recognized that her journey of transformation had transcended her initial desires. It was about empowering others to acknowledge their own fears and embrace the strength within. The recognition of the shared struggles illuminated a path forward, forging connections that sustained, supported, and propelled them toward growth. Between subsequent workshops, Sarah utilized the feedback gathered after each session, continuously refining the framework and incorporating uplifting anecdotes from attendees. The community became a living, breathing entity, thriving on encouragement and mutual respect. The women learned to celebrate small victories and rally around each other during hard days, creating a symbiotic relationship between their aspirations and realities. As weeks transformed into months, Sarah's personal growth was undeniable. She found herself not just carrying the burden of motherhood but thriving within it. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror each morning, confidence radiating from her reflection. The questions that once plagued her, "Am I enough? Do I deserve this?" had shifted to affirmations like, "I am worthy of self-care, and I am capable of leading by example." She was recognized by the local community for her innovative approach to nurturing emotional well-being among mothers, a distinction that filled her with pride and gratitude. As she accepted the acknowledgement, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had not only transformed her own life but had cultivated an environment where others could grow alongside her. Now, when Sarah glanced at her children, particularly Ellie, she saw a future shining brightly, a life that would embrace change, resilience, and authenticity. She realized that this journey wasn't just about her. It was about creating a legacy, teaching her children to find strength in vulnerability, acceptance in struggles, and joy in personal growth. She was the superhero she had once longed to be, not by hiding her insecurities, but by sharing them, teaching Ellie the beauty of triumph through adversity. In the final workshop of the series, Sarah and Clara planned a celebration inviting participants to share their progress, their stories, and the lessons learned. As they gathered in a circle, laughter and recognition bubbled around the room, and Sarah looked at each woman, flooded with pride. They exchanged heartfelt testimonials, illuminating the transformational impact on their lives. Sarah felt a profound satisfaction settle over her. The fear that had once paralyzed her had transitioned into action, and her purpose sparked a symphony of resilience in the community. I didn't just change my life. I transformed the lives of so many women, she reflected inwardly. The realization felt monumental. Not only had she conquered self-doubt, but she had also ignited change, capturing the essence of what it meant to lead with authenticity and heart. As they concluded their celebration with soft smiles and warm embraces, Sarah breathed deeply, fully present in the moment. She no longer questioned her worth. She embodied her strength. With the empowerment she had cultivated, intertwined with vulnerability and connection, she stepped forward, ready for whatever awaited her with unwavering confidence. This was her achievement, a life built on transformed doubts, where obstacles became stepping stones, and where every woman learned to become the architect of her own success. And just like that, Sarah had not just embraced change. She had become it. Now, do not wait even one more second to continue your journey of empowerment through these stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive, emotional transformations coming your way. Leave a like now to help fuel the algorithm and ensure others can discover these incredible stories. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey to ignite even more conversation. And remember to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how transformation can change lives forever. You need to show your support for this community of growth and empowerment.